I'm Paul DeNicola from PwC's Governance Insight Center. Welcome to our Emerge Stronger series. The topic for today, talent and workforce. Clearly, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound effect on how companies are looking at these issues. So here to join me today is my partner, the leader of the People and Organizations practice at PwC, Bhushan Sethi. Bhushan, thanks a lot for joining me.
Great to be here, Paul.
Well, as companies start to move past the immediate crisis response to COVID-19 and start to really think about what their new normal is going to look like from the perspective of their workforce, the board is particularly important. So what role do you think the board plays when it comes to these discussions about talent and workforce?
Thanks, Paul. I think one thing's for clear, what we've seen in the immediate response, the board has been really focused on how do we protect the safety of our people? How do we protect our balance sheet? How do we protect the financial health of the business? And really pushing management around those questions. What we're now seeing is that in the next phase is boards really pushing to say, as we emerge out of this crisis, what does our business strategy look like? What are the products that we're in business to serve? What changes do we need to make around pricing? How do we think about different client segments? To what extent are we going to shift our revenue from offline to online through digital channels? All of that, as we know, Paul, has a huge impact on the type of talent you need, where that talent needs to be located, the skill set, the mindset of that talent. And also, as we're all learning in this pandemic, how resilient that talent is. Resilience has been an important piece, an important word for lots of aspects of supply chains and cyber. We're also increasingly seeing the need for people at all levels to demonstrate that resilience.
So for companies then that really want to move past the initial response and really start to accelerate changes in the way that they work, what are the kinds of questions that board members should be asking in that regard?
Yeah, so one of the first areas is, do we have the right technology in place for people to work in this remote environment? Can our business leaders start engaging with their business-to-business clients through technology channels? Are we driving the right collaboration as we get different product or market teams together to think about new pricing strategies, to think about new sets of clients' needs? To what extent are our systems secure and resilient in this world where the cyber functions of our clients' businesses and our own have been really focused on how do we protect the firm and protect the assets and protect our clients? So it's really thinking about the technology pieces first, but if technology is necessary but not sufficient, if you don't have the right culture of trust and empathy and checking in with people and willingness to show vulnerability and sharing information, all the technology in the world will not deliver its benefits.
Well, tools and technology are certainly a huge area, but what about the capabilities from a talent perspective? Many organizations are undergoing significant digital upskilling efforts on getting all of their employees ready to work in this sort of environment. That has been accelerated. So how are you thinking about digital upskilling in this environment?
Yeah. So those firms that were digitally prepared, and that means that they had digital processes, they leveraged digital tools, they had digitally skilled talent who were able to use some of these tools, they absolutely came into the start of the pandemic with an advantage in their business. But what we equally saw during the pandemic, even within our own firm, Paul, is there's a whole set of new sets of skills and behaviors like resilience, like agility, like a bias for action, leveraging different levels of experts inside and outside your organizations, how you make decisions. Some of those skills and behaviors, a number of firms are saying, we never thought we would get this done. How do we bottle those up and make those sticky and sustainable in our business as well? So digital is part of it. There's another set of kind of leadership and ways of working that many organizations are saying, how do we sustain that?
Well, maybe to shift to a related topic, that would be corporate culture. And over the last several years, boards have focused a lot more on corporate culture and culture metrics, but the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we look at culture significantly. When you're talking to boards, How are they looking at culture differently now?
What's really interesting, Paul, is we've discovered, through our years of experience with boards on corporate governance and culture issues, is different to the financial crisis. The culture issues now are less about ethical dilemmas. Do we have the right tone at the top? Are we worried about conduct? But it's more about how are we caring about the mental health and safety of our employees, and for some businesses, customers when they're working in person. But it's also about how do we make sure we get people back to a physical workplace safely? And for certain businesses that are going to go through some downsizing, how do we actually make sure that if we're downsizing and if we're shrinking the business, we're doing this in the most humane way, that we're thinking about what's the reskilling program for some people, whether it's reskilling for other roles in your own organization or for other roles within your community. So back to, we've talked in the past about purpose being so important for boards and so important for corporations. Any piece around corporate culture really does start with the purpose and how we are now thinking about all stakeholders, including, like we've said, the consumers and the employees.
It seems pretty clear that companies will not need the amount of space that they needed pre-crisis. What does that look like going forward? And when you think about the board perspective, are there questions boards should be asking right now of their management teams in terms of, what kind of physical space do we need?
Boards are really worried about the safety. Have we got the right physical distancing in place? Have we got the protocols? Do people understand the PPE requirements? Do we have the right contact tracing in place? But they're also, to some degree, going to be worried about how can we manage some of our capital investments and our discretionary spend? If we can save on the renewal of that lease of that building, if we can downsize some of our corporate real estate because we're going to have less people coming into a physical workplace for a small period. What we haven't seen, Paul, is the huge exodus of businesses from urban centers yet. There's been a lot of talk about that. As a personal kind of hope and anecdote for someone who lives in New York, our perspective around this will be people will return to a physical workplace. It won't be full time.
Yeah. Well, an awful lot for boards to think about when it comes to talent. Thanks so much for joining me, Bhushan, and thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
For more on what boards need to know to help their companies emerge stronger, please visit our website. Thanks a lot for joining today.